Hello, mathematicians. Today we're going to be learning about two-step equations. And you'll notice that in these two-step equations, we'll have operations such as multiplication, addition, and subtraction. So here we have 2 times x plus 4. Remember that the 2 is being multiplied with the x and with the 4 is equal to 18. So remember that there are two ways to solve this. We could either distribute. So what we could do is we could do 2 times x, which is 2x, 2 times 4, which is 8, so plus 8 is equal to 18. And here we have 2x plus 8 is equal to 18. So we want to isolate our x, so we're going to subtract by 8 on both sides. And the positive and the negative 8 cancel each other out, so those are 0. So we have 2x, and then here we have 18 minus 8. So 18 minus 8 is 10, so 2x is equal to 10. And since this is multiplication, so 2 times x is equal to 10, we could divide by 2 on both sides. 2 divided by 2 is 1. And 1x is the same thing as x, so I'm going to leave that as just x. And then here we have 10 divided by 2, which is equal to 5. And so x is equal to 5. And then we could go back in and we could see if that makes the equation true. Or another way to go about this problem is, since we know that this is 2 times x and then 2 times 4, since it's multiplying by these two terms, what we could do is we could divide this by 2. And if we did, the 2's would cancel out. And then all we would have to do is we could do the same thing on the other side. So 18 divided by 2. And so we're left with x plus 4 is equal to 18 divided by 2, which is 9. So x plus 4 is equal to 9. And then we could subtract by 4 on both sides to balance that. And then a positive and a negative 4 cancel each other out because those are zeros. So x is equal to 9 minus 4 is 5. So x is equal to 5. And remember that that's the same answer we got before. So either way works. I personally think that this second way is a little bit easier, but it's really up to you. So if we want to go in and check our answer, we'd have to substitute x for 5. So 2 times 5 plus 4. And we could add the 5 and the 4 first. So 2 times 9 is equal to 18. Making this equation true, so that's how we know that x is equal to 5. And so here we have the same thing. We have negative 3 times 2x and negative 3 times negative 5. And what we could do is we could divide by negative 3 to cancel this out. And whatever we do on the left side, we have to do on the right side. So we could divide by negative 3. So here I have 2x minus 5 is equal to, now a negative divided by a negative is a positive, and 21 divided by 3 is 7. So here I have 2x minus 5 is equal to 7. And what we could do is we could add 5 on both sides. And this cancels out. So 2x is equal to 7 plus 5 is 12. And here we have 2 times x is equal to 12. In order to isolate our x, we have to divide both sides by 2 since this is 2 times x. And so this cancels out because 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 1x is the same thing as x. So now we have to divide the right side by 2. So x is equal to, and now we have 12 divided by 2, and 12 divided by 2 is 6. So x is equal to 6. Now remember, if we want to go back and check our work, we have to substitute x with 6. So we have negative 3 times 2 times 6 minus 5. So we have negative 3. 2 times 6 is 12 minus 5. Negative 3 times 12 minus 5 is 7. And negative 3 times 7 is negative 21. And that's exactly what we have in our equation. So that's how we know that x is equal to 6, because we got a true statement here. So here I have a negative, right, on the outside. And even though it just looks like a negative, we could write a 1 here if that's too confusing to look at. So we have negative 1 times 12 and negative 1 times 5x. So here you could do the same thing. You could either distribute the negative 1 or divide both sides by negative 1. So if you did multiply negative 1 times 12, you would get negative 12. If you did do negative 1 times 5x, you would have negative 5x is equal to negative 22. So that's one way to approach it. And then you would solve this as you normally would. So you would add 12 on both sides. And these two cancel out. And then you're left with negative 5x is equal to negative 22 plus 12. So the signs are different, so we're subtracting. So we get 10. And remember that we keep the sign of the number with the greatest absolute value, which is 22. So we actually have negative 10. So negative 5x is equal to negative 10. And in order to isolate x, we have to divide by negative 5 on both sides. So these cancel out. So x is equal to negative 10 divided by negative 5. A negative divided by a negative is a positive, and 10 divided by 5 is 2. So x equals 2. So remember, this is just one way to go about this problem. What you could have done also is divided both sides by negative 1. And now we're left with 12 plus 5x is equal to negative 22. And so we would have to subtract both, sorry, not negative 22, positive 22. And now we have 12 plus 5x is equal to 22, and we would have to subtract 12 on both sides. And so this cancels out. So we're left with 5x is equal to 22 minus 12. So 22 minus 12 is 10. And now we have 5x is equal to 10. And in order to isolate our x, we have to divide both sides by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. And 1x is the same thing as just x. So x is equal to 2. And if we wanted to check our answer, we would rewrite this and substitute x with 2. So here we have 12 plus 5 times 2. So 12 plus 10, negative 12 plus 10. So, 12 plus 10 is 22. So a negative times a positive 22 is just negative 22. So since we got the same answer as our equation, that's how we know that this is true and x is equal to positive 2. And here we have negative 4 times 1 minus x is equal to negative 12. And remember that we could simply divide both sides by negative 4 to cancel that out. Since it's multiplication, we're going to do the opposite and we're going to divide. And whatever we do on the left side, we have to do on the right side. So the negative 4 divided by negative 4 is just 1. So on the left side, we're only left with 1 minus x is equal to, here we have negative 12 divided by negative 4. A negative divided by a negative is a positive, and 12 divided by 4 is 3. And so now I have 1 minus x is equal to 3. So in order to get x by itself, we have to get rid of the 1. So we're going to subtract 1 on both sides. And so 1 minus 1 is 0. And then we're left with negative x is equal to 3 minus 1, which is 2. And we don't have our x value because we have our negative x value. So we do have to divide both sides by negative 1. So negative x divided by negative 1 is x, and 2 divided by negative 1 is negative 2. So x is equal to negative 2. And if we want to go back and check our work, all we would have to do is substitute. So negative 4 times 1 minus negative 2. Remember, this is the same thing as 1 plus 2, so that's 3. And then we have negative 4 times 3, which a negative times a positive is equal to a negative, and 4 times 3 is equal to 12. And so that's exactly what we have in our equation, making this true. And that's it. So x is equal to negative 2.